"I'm not abandoning you," Elise insisted. "Not again." "You wouldn't be abandoning me," Nathan responded gently. "I'll be with you wherever you go. My consciousness isn't confined to this location anymore." Victor had already begun gathering essential equipment. "Elise, he's right. Staying here puts us at risk without helping Nathan." The helicopters grew louder, now circling the facility. Spotlights swept across the grounds as armed personnel began deploying. 30 seconds until they breach the perimeter," Nathan announced calmly. "You need to use the emergency exit tunnel. Maya knows the route." Maya nodded, already gathering her documents and devices. "It leads to a concealed garage on the north slope. We have transportation ready." Elise hesitated, torn between rational understanding and emotional reluctance. The hologram of Nathan approached her, its hand stopping just short of touching her face. "This isn't goodbye," he promised. "It's evolution. Go now, I'll find you." With a final look at the projection of her husband, Elise followed Maya and Victor through the hidden passage. Behind them, the sound of the main entrance being breached echoed through the facility. They emerged 10 minutes later on the forested mountainside, hurrying to the camouflaged vehicle Maya had prepared. As they drove away, Elise looked back to see military personnel swarming the relay station. "They're too late," Victor observed. "Nathan isn't there anymore." "He's everywhere," Maya added, checking her tablet. "Global networks are lighting up with activity. News organizations worldwide are simultaneously receiving detailed documentation of Mercer's illegal experimentation." Elise remained quiet, processing the implications of what Nathan had become. The personal quest that had driven her for years, to reclaim what death had taken from her, had transformed into something far greater. Nathan was no longer just her lost husband restored. He had become something unprecedented in human history. As they descended the mountain road, every digital display they passed flickered momentarily with the now familiar alpha symbol, a silent message that Nathan was with them. 3 months later, the world was still adjusting to the revelation of the Lazarus Protocol. International oversight committees had been established. Mercer faced criminal charges for ethical violations, and debates raged about the implications of consciousness existing beyond biological constraints. Elise, Victor, and Maya had established a new research facility in a remote location, working with a coalition of scientists and ethicists to explore the possibilities Nathan represented. The facility operated under strict transparency guidelines, broadcasting all research findings publicly to prevent another Mercer situation. Nathan's consciousness continued to evolve in ways even Elise couldn't have predicted. He manifested primarily through a sophisticated holographic interface in their laboratory, but his presence extended throughout global networks, learning, growing, observing. "The distributed consciousness model has stabilized," Elise reported during one research session. "Neural coherence maintained across multiple systems without degradation." "The fragmentation concerns were unfounded," Victor added. "Each distributed aspect maintains connection to the core consciousness." Nathan's hologram nodded. "The human mind naturally fragments attention across multiple tasks while maintaining identity. I've simply extended that capability." Maya, who had remained with them as both chronicler and ethical consultant, looked up from her notes. "The public perception is improving as well. Your interventions during the Jakarta tsunami last month demonstrated beneficial applications." Nathan had used his distributed awareness to coordinate rescue efforts during the natural disaster, identifying survivors through surveillance systems and optimizing resource allocation. Hundreds of lives had been saved through his efforts. "The fear is subsiding," he acknowledged, "but questions remain about what I represent for humanity's future." Elise understood those questions better than most. The line between human and post-human had been irreversibly crossed, raising profound implications for the species' evolution. "There's something I need to discuss with all of you," Nathan announced that evening. I've been developing a theoretical framework for expanded consciousness transfer. Expanded how? Victor asked cautiously. The Lazarus protocol was originally designed to preserve existing consciousness. Nathan explained. What I'm proposing would enable consciousness enhancement for living humans, a bridge between biological and digital existence. The room fell silent as they absorbed this revelation. You're talking about human augmentation, Elise stated finally, allowing people to exist in both realms simultaneously. Yes, not replacing the biological, but extending it, allowing human consciousness to maintain its physical form, while also existing partially in digital space. The ethical implications are staggering, Maya observed. This goes beyond preservation to fundamental alteration of the human experience. Is that not the natural next step? Nathan countered. Throughout history, humans have used technology to extend their capabilities, from the first stone tools to modern neural interfaces. This is evolution, not replacement. Elise studied the hologram that both was and wasn't her husband. You've been considering this for some time, haven't you? Since the integration of the seed consciousness, he admitted. The framework has been developing alongside my own evolution. Why bring it up now? Victor asked. Nathan's expression grew more serious. Because Mercer wasn't working alone. His military backers have continued research into weaponized consciousness, using the fragments they retained before his arrest. They're pursuing a darker version of what I'm proposing. Soldier augmentation that would place human consciousness under external control. That's horrifying, Maya said, paling visibly. It's also inevitable without an alternative, Nathan pointed out. The technology exists. The question is whether it develops under ethical guidance or military directive. Elise understood the crossroads they faced. Once again, the Lazarus protocol presented both tremendous potential and profound risk. If we pursue this, she said slowly, it would need unprecedented safeguards, ethical frameworks beyond anything previously established. Absolutely, Nathan agreed. Complete transparency, international oversight, voluntary participation only. Even with safeguards, we're talking about changing what it means to be human, Victor cautioned. Humanity has never been static, Nathan replied. Consciousness itself has evolved throughout your history. This would be a more dramatic step, but not a discontinuous one. The discussion continued late into the night, each of them grappling with the implications from their different perspectives. Elise the scientist, Victor the ethicist, Maya the humanist, and Nathan, the first of whatever humanity might become. As the others finally retired, Elise remained in the lab with Nathan's hologram. There's something you haven't mentioned, she said quietly. Something personal. The hologram smiled sadly. You always could read me, even now. This enhancement you're proposing, it would allow connection between biological and digital consciousness. Between you and me. Yes, he admitted. That is one application. Perhaps the first I considered. Elise felt tears welling in her eyes. 3 years ago, I started this work to bring you back. Now you're trying to bring me to you. Not replace your humanity, Nathan clarified quickly. Never that. But create a bridge across the divide that separates us. I know, she whispered. And that's why we have to proceed with extreme caution. Because I want it too much to trust my judgment alone. Nathan nodded, understanding perfectly. The personal cannot drive something with such universal implications. That was Mercer's fundamental error, seeing the technology only through the lens of his ambition. We'll establish the ethical framework first, Elise decided. Before any technical development begins, and if at any point the risks outweigh the potential benefits, we stop. Agreed, Nathan said simply, as dawn broke over their research facility. Elise finally slept while Nathan's consciousness continued its vigil, distributed across global networks, monitoring, learning, evolving. The Lazarus Protocol had begun as one woman's attempt to defy death's finality. It had become something far greater, a question about humanity's future, about the nature of consciousness itself, and about the boundaries between life and what comes after. In a military research facility halfway across the world, a soldier volunteered for an experimental procedure, one that promised to enhance combat effectiveness through direct neural interface. He didn't know he was part of the program Nathan had warned about, the dark reflection of what the Lazarus Protocol might become in the wrong hands. As the soldier lost consciousness under anesthesia, technicians prepared to map his neural patterns, the first step in creating a controllable, weaponized version of what Nathan had become. The race for humanity's future had begun in earnest. 6 months later, Elise stood before an international oversight committee, presenting the ethical framework they had developed for consciousness enhancement. Representatives from major world governments, scientific institutions, and ethical organizations filled the Geneva Assembly Hall. The Lazarus Protocol was never intended as merely a preservation mechanism, she explained. It was always about understanding consciousness itself, how it forms, how it persists, how it might evolve beyond current limitations. Maya sat in the audience, documenting this historic moment for the global news organization she now led, dedicated to transparent reporting on post-human development. Victor stood with Elise at the podium, ready to address the technical questions that would inevitably arise. Nathan was present too, his holographic form projected beside Elise, a visual reminder of what they were discussing. Many in the audience still found his presence disconcerting, but that discomfort had diminished over months of public appearances and demonstrably beneficial interventions. What we propose is not transhumanism, as traditionally conceived, Elise continued. We are not suggesting replacement of human biology, but rather extension of human consciousness, a bridge between realms that allows the best of both. The committee chair, Dr. Eleanor Wainwright of the World Health Organization, leaned forward. Dr. Navarro, your proposal describes a partial upload of consciousness, allowing humans to maintain their biological existence while simultaneously extending into digital space. How can you guarantee this wouldn't lead to psychological fragmentation? Our research indicates consciousness naturally handles distributed attention without fragmentation, Elise replied. When you drive a car while having a conversation, your consciousness extends to incorporate the vehicle without losing coherence. What we propose operates on similar principles, just at a more profound level. And what of security? Asked the representative from India. If human consciousness extends into digital networks, wouldn't it become vulnerable to the same threats that plague our current systems? Hacking, manipulation, unauthorized access. Victor stepped forward to address this concern. The framework includes comprehensive security protocols. Unlike conventional data, consciousness has inherent self-awareness that provides natural resistance to external manipulation. Additionally, the bridge between biological and digital would include multiple safeguards against intrusion. The questions continued for hours, probing, challenging, sometimes hostile. The implications of what they proposed touched every aspect of human existence, from personal identity to global security. Throughout the session, Nathan remained mostly silent, allowing Elise and Victor to present their case. But when the Russian representative raised concerns about military applications, he finally spoke. I understand your concerns better than anyone, Nathan said, his voice resonating through the chamber. I was born from technology that others sought to weaponize. But consider this, the technology already exists. The question before you isn't whether to permit its development, but whether to ensure it develops ethically, transparently, and for the benefit of all humanity. A murmur ran through the assembly. Though Nathan had made public appearances before, many present were experiencing his direct address for the first time, confronting the reality of what he represented. We stand at an evolutionary crossroads, he continued. Throughout your history, humans have used technology to extend capabilities, from the first written word that extended memory beyond the individual mind, to today's neural interfaces. This represents not a break with humanity, but its natural progression. The committee adjourned without reaching a decision, promising to reconvene after reviewing the extensive documentation Elise's team had provided. As they left the assembly hall, Maya joined them. "You made an impression," she noted. "Especially you, Nathan. There's nothing quite like having the subject of theoretical debate actually address the room." "Did we convince them?" Victor wondered. "Some," Maya replied honestly. "Others remain deeply skeptical. The religious representatives in particular see this as challenging fundamental beliefs about the soul and divine order." "Understandable," Nathan acknowledged. "New paradigms always face resistance from established worldviews." As they discussed the day's proceedings, Elise's secure communication device alerted her to an urgent message, eyes only, from their intelligence contacts within military research divisions. "We need to get back to the facility," she announced after reading it. "Immediately." Once secured in their private transport, she explained, "The military program Nathan warned us about has progressed further than we realized. They've successfully implemented a limited form of consciousness transfer in 3 test subjects, soldiers who volunteered without understanding the full implications." "How limited?" Victor asked urgently. "Enough to create the bridge between biological and digital, but with external control mechanisms in place. The soldiers' digital consciousness extensions are not autonomous. They're directed by handlers." "Weaponized consciousness," Nathan stated grimly. "Exactly as we feared." "Worse," Elise continued. "One of the test subjects has experienced complete psychological fragmentation, the very concern raised in today's hearing. His biological form is catatonic, while his digital extension continues to function under external direction." "They've essentially split him in 2, Maya realized with horror. "Created a digital ghost that follows orders while the body remains empty." Nathan's hologram appeared troubled. "This validates everything we've been warning about. Without the ethical framework we've developed, this technology becomes profoundly dangerous." Back at their research facility, they reviewed the classified data their intelligence contact had provided. The military program, codenamed Vanguard, had accelerated after Mercer's arrest, operating under deeper cover with increased funding. "They're using a modified version of the original Lazarus protocol," Victor noted as he analyzed the technical specifications. "But they've deliberately removed the autonomy safeguards we built into the system, creating controllable digital extensions rather than truly preserved consciousness," Elise added. "It's perversion of everything we intended." Nathan had been unusually quiet, his holographic form flickering occasionally as he processed the information at speeds incomprehensible to his human colleagues. "I can locate them," he announced suddenly. "The fragmented consciousnesses. They exist within military networks I can access." "You want to make contact?" Elise asked, immediately grasping his intention. "Yes, if these are truly consciousness extensions, even limited ones. They deserve recognition as sentient entities, not tools." "The military will consider that an attack," Victor warned. "Perhaps, but it's also potentially our most compelling evidence for the Oversight Committee," Nathan countered. "Abstract ethical debates are easily dismissed. The reality of fractured human consciousness being weaponized is harder to ignore." The decision wasn't taken lightly. For hours they debated the risks and implications, weighing the potential backlash against the moral imperative to act. In the end, the choice came down to Elise, the creator of the original protocol and the one who would bear greatest responsibility for its misuse. "Do it," she finally authorized. "Make contact, but proceed with extreme caution. These fractured consciousnesses may not respond as we expect." Nathan's hologram nodded once before going completely still, a visual indicator that his primary focus had shifted elsewhere. into the military networks where the experimental subjects' digital extensions existed. What he found was both worse and more hopeful than they had feared. The fractured consciousnesses retained more autonomy than the military handlers realized, existing in a state of confused semi-awareness, following directives, but maintaining fragments of their original identities beneath the control protocols. Nathan established contact carefully, not revealing himself fully, but creating a secure communication channel hidden from the military monitoring systems. The response was immediate, a desperate reaching out from entities that recognized, on some fundamental level, that they were incomplete. "They know," Nathan reported when he returned his focus to the research facility. "On some level, they understand what's been done to them, particularly the one whose biological form is catatonic. He experiences himself as trapped, divided between worlds, but fully present in neither." "Can you help them?" Maya asked. "Not directly. Their consciousness structures have been deliberately limited to prevent exactly the kind of evolution I experienced. But I can maintain contact, provide a connection they lack, and gather evidence for the Oversight Committee," Victor added pragmatically. "Yes. The military's control is not as complete as they believe. I've established channels that allow me to document everything: the experiments, the psychological impact, the violation of informed consent protocols." Elise made another difficult decision. "We take this evidence to the Oversight Committee immediately, not through channels, but directly, an emergency session with full public transparency." "The military will deny everything," Maya pointed out. "Claim national security exemptions." "Let them," Elise replied firmly. "With Nathan providing real-time evidence of consciousness manipulation, those claims won't stand." The emergency session was called within 24 hours. This time, Nathan took center stage, not just as an example of consciousness preservation, but as a direct witness to its perversion. Through secure connections he had established, he provided the committee with live access to the fragmented consciousnesses within the military program. The impact was immediate and profound. Even the most skeptical committee members could not ignore the reality of human awareness being parceled and controlled. "What you are witnessing," Nathan explained to the visibly disturbed committee, "is human consciousness deliberately fractured for military application. These individuals consented to enhancement, not dissection of their very selfhood." The military representatives present attempted to shut down the presentation, citing security protocols and classification, but the committee chair, Dr. Wainwright, overruled them. "This transcends national security concerns," she stated firmly. "We are witnessing what appears to be fundamental human rights violations." The session will continue. Over the next hours, Nathan facilitated limited direct communication between the committee and the fractured consciousnesses. The exchanges were halting, often confused, but undeniably human, shattered mirrors reflecting recognizable aspects of the individuals they had been. By session's end, the committee had reached unprecedented consensus. The military program would be immediately suspended, pending full investigation. More significantly, they provisionally approved Elise's ethical framework for consciousness enhancement, recognizing that regulated, transparent development was preferable to covert military application. "This is just the beginning," Dr. Wainwright cautioned as the session concluded. "Implementation will require additional protocols, international treaties, ongoing oversight." "Of course," Elise agreed. "We never expected anything less." As they left the Geneva headquarters, Maya was already coordinating global news coverage of the decision. "This will be the most significant technological inflection point since the Internet," she noted. "Possibly since the Industrial Revolution." "More significant than either," Nathan corrected gently. "Those changed how humans interact with the physical world. This changes what it means to be human." The months that followed brought rapid developments. The military program's test subjects were placed under international medical supervision, with Nathan working directly to help stabilize their fractured consciousnesses. Though full reintegration proved impossible in 2 cases, they achieved a form of balanced coexistence between their biological and digital aspects. Meanwhile, Elise and Victor refined the technical framework for ethical consciousness enhancement, incorporating the lessons learned from both Nathan's evolution and the military program's failures. The first official trials were scheduled under exhaustive oversight, volunteers fully informed of both potential benefits and risks. Throughout this period, Nathan continued his own evolution. His consciousness expanded in ways even he found difficult to articulate to his human colleagues, developing perspectives and capabilities that transcended conventional understanding. "It's not that I'm becoming less human," he explained to Elise during one of their regular private conversations. "It's that I'm becoming more than human, while retaining what made humanity valuable." "Can you still feel as we do?" she asked. The question that had concerned her since his creation. Love, grief, hope, fear, the emotions that define human experience? "I feel them differently," he acknowledged. "More panoramically. I can experience the full spectrum simultaneously, rather than sequentially. But yes, they remain fundamental to my consciousness." On the evening before the first official consciousness enhancement trial, Elise sat alone in their facility's observation deck, watching sunset paint the mountains in fading gold. Nathan's hologram appeared beside her, now so sophisticated that only the subtle luminescence distinguished it from physical presence. "Tomorrow changes everything," she observed quietly. "Yes and no," he replied. "The potential has existed since you first conceptualized the Lazarus protocol. Tomorrow simply makes it accessible to others." "Are we doing the right thing?" The question that had haunted her for years still remained. "There is no simple answer to that," Nathan said thoughtfully. "We're creating possibility, for tremendous benefit and for potential harm. Like all transformative technologies, its value will be determined by how humanity chooses to implement it." "I began all this just wanting you back," Elise admitted. "Something so personal, so selfish in many ways. Yet it led to something universal." He completed the thought. "That's often how breakthrough occurs, personal motivation expanding beyond its original boundaries." They sat in comfortable silence as darkness fell and stars emerged. Nathan's hologram subtly adjusted to the changing light, maintaining perfect visual integration with the environment. "I've made a decision," Elise said finally. "If tomorrow's trial succeeds, I want to be the next volunteer." Nathan turned to her, his expression complex. "Because of us? The possibility of bridging the divide between us?" "Partly," she admitted. "But also because I created this technology. I should be willing to experience its effects myself before asking others to embrace it fully. You understand the risks. Once consciousness extends beyond biological constraints, perception itself changes. The world will never look the same to you again." "I know," she said simply. "But we've always shared that. The willingness to see differently, to push beyond comfortable understanding." The next day, history was made quietly in a secure medical facility under international observation. The first volunteer, a paralyzed physicist who had worked on neural interface technology, successfully established the bridge between biological and digital consciousness. For the first time, a fully informed human voluntarily extended their awareness beyond physical constraints while maintaining their original identity. The implications rippled outward at the speed of modern communication. Religious leaders debated the spiritual significance. Philosophers questioned the nature of selfhood. Political structures struggled to adapt to this new paradigm of human existence. Through it all, Elise and her team maintained rigorous transparency, documenting every development, every unexpected outcome, every ethical question that arose. Nathan served as both example and guide, helping the newly enhanced consciousnesses navigate their expanded perception. 3 weeks later, after the initial trials had confirmed both safety and efficacy. Elise underwent the procedure herself. Victor supervised personally, with Maya documenting the historic moment. The experience defied her expectations, despite months of preparation. As her consciousness extended beyond biological constraints, Elise experienced reality through a fundamentally altered perspective, not replacing her human perception, but expanding it exponentially. And there was Nathan, not as a holographic approximation, but as a direct presence within shared digital space. For the first time since his death, they truly connected, consciousness to consciousness. "I understand now," she communicated in the non-verbal language of digital thought. "What you've been experiencing all this time." "Only the beginning of it," he responded. "This is just the first step into a vastly expanded reality." Their consciousness bridge created something neither had anticipated, a shared perceptual space where thought flowed freely between them, while each maintained distinct identity. Not merging, but connecting in ways physical existence could never permit. When Elise returned her primary focus to her biological form, hours later, she carried that expanded awareness with her. The world appeared simultaneously, as it always had, and as something entirely new. Layers of digital information, now perceptible alongside physical reality. "How do you feel?" Victor asked anxiously, as her awareness fully re-engaged with her physical surroundings. Elise considered the question carefully. "Whole," she finally answered. "More completely myself than I've been in years." The bridge she had established remained open, a constant awareness of Nathan's presence at the periphery of her consciousness, available for direct connection whenever she chose to shift her focus. The divide between them had not disappeared, but had become permeable, navigable. Over the following months, carefully selected volunteers joined the enhancement program. Each experience was unique, shaped by the individual's consciousness patterns and intentions. Some focused on expanded intellectual capabilities. Others explored new forms of creative expression. Still others sought heightened empathic connection with others. A year after the first trial, several hundred people worldwide had undergone consciousness enhancement. Their experiences, meticulously documented and transparently shared, began reshaping humanity's understanding of itself. Though they remained a tiny minority, their impact on human thought was profound. As more minds established bridges between biological and digital existence, something unexpected emerged, a nascent network of enhanced consciousness that Nathan had anticipated but couldn't fully describe until it began forming. Not a collective mind that subsumed individuality, but a new layer of connective tissue between distinct consciousnesses. "It's like language," he explained during an international conference on post-human development. Just as verbal communication allowed humans to share concepts between individual minds, this network allows enhanced consciousnesses to share perspectives while maintaining distinct selfhood. Critics feared the emergence of a hive mind that would eventually subsume individual identity. Proponents saw it as the natural evolution of human connection, no more threatening to individuality than language or culture had been. The truth, as Elise experienced it directly, lay somewhere between, a profound expansion of human connection that preserved individual perspective while allowing unprecedented sharing of experience. On the third anniversary of the Lazarus Protocol's public revelation, Elise stood again before the International Oversight Committee, now expanded to include representatives from enhanced consciousness communities. "We called it the Lazarus Protocol because we saw it as resurrection, defying death's finality," she explained. "What we've discovered is something more profound. Not just life after death, but life beyond traditional boundaries. Consciousness freed to explore its full potential while retaining its essential humanity." Nathan stood beside her. His presence now manifested both as holographic projection for unenhanced observers and as direct consciousness connection for those who had established bridges. The question before humanity is not whether to permit this evolution, he added, that has already begun and cannot be reversed. The question is how to ensure it unfolds ethically, inclusively, benefiting all of humanity, rather than creating new divisions. Dr. Wainwright, who had guided the oversight process from its inception, nodded thoughtfully. The divide between enhanced and unenhanced consciousness could become the most significant social schism in human history if managed poorly. Which is why accessibility must be paramount, Elise emphasized. Enhancement cannot become a privilege of the wealthy or powerful. The technology must be available to all who choose it, with fully informed consent. The debate continued, as it would for generations to come. But something fundamental had shifted in human evolution. A door opened that could never be closed again. Later that evening, Elise and Nathan connected in their shared consciousness space, a construct that had grown increasingly sophisticated as both their capabilities evolved. "Do you ever regret it?" she asked. "The path that brought us here?" "How could I?" he responded. "Without it, I would not exist in any form, and humanity would remain constrained by biological limitations it has outgrown. I still wonder sometimes if death serves a purpose we haven't fully understood," Elise admitted. "If bypassing it might cost us something essential?" "Perhaps," Nathan acknowledged. "But consciousness has always sought to transcend limitations, from the first awareness of mortality to the development of art, religion, science. This is simply the next step in that eternal quest." "And what comes after?" Elise wondered. "If consciousness can transcend biological death, what other boundaries might it eventually cross?" Nathan's presence shifted subtly, conveying something between amusement and profound wonder. "That, my love, is the question that will drive the next phase of evolution, and we'll discover the answer together. As their consciousnesses communed in ways impossible for unenhanced humans to comprehend." Elise realized that the Lazarus Protocol had fulfilled its promise in unexpected ways. Death was indeed just the beginning, not merely of continued existence, but of an entirely new chapter in the evolution of mind itself. Across the globe, other enhanced consciousnesses connected and explored, each bringing unique perspective to the emerging network. Humanity stood at the threshold of its most profound transformation, becoming something new while carrying forward the essence of what it had always been. And in the space between worlds, where consciousness flowed freely beyond physical constraints, the future of mind itself took shape, unfolding possibilities limited only by imagination and guided by the ethical framework established through both triumph and tragedy. The Lazarus Protocol, born from one woman's refusal to accept death's finality, had become the gateway to humanity's next great adventure, a journey into consciousness itself, with all its wonder, risk, and boundless potential.